Working with Ankhasha has been life-changing. It has really changed my point of view on life and how things work. And I grew up in the church and being religious, and Ankhasha has that background.
Ankhasha's mediumship abilities is phenomenal. She gets information that comes through to her through the spirits that contact her, especially in the gallery reading, is beyond circumstantial. There's no coincidence that she will get information that no one else could possibly know, including, of course, her, for these people. And it's jaw-dropping, really is.
Having the opportunity to meet with someone who I can ask any question on the occult and she has an answer. She is a scholar. And, I've read a lot of books and been around a lot of folks. She comes to learning about the occult in a literary way. I mean, she has done the reading. It's not just something she's seen on TV or something she anecdotal experience. She actually has some academic behind her, I think.
If someone was thinking about working with Ankhasha, I would absolutely recommend her.
I would highly recommend her.
If you're really truly interested in delving further into your psychic abilities or expanding your psychic abilities, it would be a great opportunity to be able to work with Ankhasha.
I met Ankhasha when she actually came to one of my classes that I was offering at my home in Northern California. I was giving, this is before I started teaching at a couple of the institutions that I'm teaching at now, and that was a little over 12 years ago. She was just one of many people in the class, and at the end of the course, she started telling me about having purchased a couple of courses that were not online, but they were being offered by a couple of ghost hunter groups, and she actually brought them with her and showed them to me, and they were just terrible. And she was really happy that I actually talked about parapsychology and that I was approaching it from a more scientific perspective. And then she started telling me about her background as a psychic. And we kind of bonded. Frankly, we bonded over comic books more than anything else. So although she's a Marvel girl and I was a DC person, and I took her on a few cases with me because that's what I do. When I have somebody approach me who says they're a psychic or medium and they want to do investigations or want to learn more about their abilities, if I feel the personality is appropriate, I will take them with me on cases and test them out. And she did wonderfully. She did a great job, and we continue to be very good friends. And I took her to the USS Hornet. I've taken her to the Moss Beach Distillery. She was one of the many psychics that I actually included in a study I did on psychics and mediums in field investigations. She's somebody I've relied on as a psychic and medium over the years, and really supportive of what she's done. Very happy that she did so well in the research medium study that Julie Beischel did for the Windbridge Institute, because she's appropriately good at what she does, and one of the best people I know.
One of the things that I really enjoy about working with Ankhasha is her level of dedication and compassion to her field. She has an enormous talent, an enormous skill set with regard to mediumship, and she doesn't stop there. She actually brings a very human element to the process of working with the dead on behalf of the living. When I first met her, she was working with Lloyd Auerbach, who is a parapsychologist and a very well-known paranormal field investigator with the Office of Paranormal Investigations. She was working with him, and just simply by that association, I was able to know that she had a very reliable track record, that if she was good enough to be used in parapsychology circles for research, that was somebody that I needed to get to know. One of the most fascinating things that I experienced with Ankhasha in regard to her abilities was seeing her do a gallery reading for the very first time. I had seen psychics, I had seen mediums do various types of gallery readings and cold readings and that sort of thing, but I had never seen anybody so comfortable in their presentation, so focused in their presentation, and so accurate in the information that she was able to get and then pass on to members of the audience. If I were to judge her performance just on that alone, she scored about 95%, and that just impressed me no end. It's very difficult for mediums to do what they do, and nobody is right 100% of the time. But she really blew me out of the water with that particular performance that she gave. So I made it a point to get to know her better. We fortunately have personalities that work very well together, and we come from two different sides. We come from a scientific background, parapsychology, my side, and the psychic and mediumship that she does. And those are two sides of the same coin, and very fortunately for us, it's turned out that we work together very well that way.
My name is Ankhasha Amenti, and I'm a psychic medium. A psychic reads the energy of a person. So a psychic is able to usually tell people about their past, about things that are going on currently in their life, and about things that may potentially happen in the future. And I always tell people the future is always the most difficult thing to speak about because it's changeable, it's mutable. It's changeable based on decisions that people make. But a medium is someone who happens to be a psychic and also additionally makes connections between the dead and the living. Some of my first experiences in mediumship were when I was very young, having connections with people from the other side, family members who had passed, and seen things that could not be explained in any other way. When I was a teenager, I began to really study in a very profound way mediumship, psychic abilities, and started using those things to enhance my life and hopefully the lives of other people. I studied a lot about different fields, magical fields, the craft. I studied about crystals, and I went on and on until I was searching for a very deep spiritual connection in the world. I found it for a period of time in organized religion. For 12 years I spent in a very, very organized religious structure. And it taught me a great deal. But it also taught me a lot about beliefs. And it taught me about how beliefs can constrain us and keep us from experiencing the world in all of its fullness. I finally broke away from that and went back into the field, because during that period of time I was told that the things that I believed in and the things I'd learned about went against somehow religious principles. It was very difficult to break out of that, but once I did it, I found a freedom in exploring and learning. I went on to study with different mediums, went on to do a lot of my own studies and shamanic work, and then I was able to participate in the Windbridge Institute, and I became a Windbridge certified research medium many years ago. There's less than 20 of us in the United States, and that is I would just say, one of the achievements that I'm very proud of. People come to me for a variety of reasons. Some people come to me to find out about things going on in their current life. Some people are interested in things that may have gone on in their past life, and other people are interested in things that may potentially go on in their future. But most of my clients come to me because I specialize in mediumship. So they have lost someone and they want to make a connection with that person again for many different reasons. And that's my job. Evidential mediumship is what I do. And by that, what I mean by evidential is that it's my responsibility as a medium to bring information for the person that I'm doing the reading for, to bring information that is evidential to the fact that I am making a connection with the person that is connected to them. So I will see some mediums, usually ones that are very underdeveloped or new to mediumship, and they'll say things like, "Your grandmother loves you." And that's very comforting because we all want to hear that our grandmother loves us. Everyone wants to hear those messages. But that doesn't really prove to the person that you are in contact with their grandmother. If you can bring evidence, bring special songs, special books that your grandmother read to you, a saying that they had, a description of them, perhaps a pet that's with them on the other side, or someone else, a name, a birth date, an anniversary date, perhaps the way they passed. Those are pieces of evidence that assure the person that you're doing the reading for that you are in connection with someone from the other side. My job as a medium is to not only bring messages from the dead and bring them to the living, but to bring it in such a way that it will bring comfort to the living. I work with mediums on a regular basis, people who have mediumship abilities, who want to do this as a life purpose. And I work to help them develop that. I also work with people who simply want to make their connection to their loved ones stronger. And that is very meaningful to me because I feel we all have psychic abilities. We all have abilities to connect with the loved ones that have passed in our life. Just because we have those particular abilities doesn't necessarily mean that that's what we're called to do as a life's work. It's like saying I have root canals in my teeth. It doesn't mean I should practice dentistry. You know, I've had experiences. People who have mediumship experiences aren't automatically mediums. It means that just like anyone, they can have experiences with their loved ones. So I work with people that are very sincere who do want to either develop for their own purpose, for their own enjoyment and connection to the other side, and then for people who are very serious about pursuing this as a life's work. My hope is that in the future, that mediumship becomes more accepted in the general public, not just a lot of the showmanship and the flamboyance that's seen on many television shows. Because of course that's what sells and that's what's promoted. But there are so many fine evidential mediums in the United States that practice their craft very quietly, without a lot of fanfare, and have a lengthy list of clients and do a wonderful, wonderful job. And I hope that those mediums get an opportunity to be seen and recognized in the public, so that people don't think of as mediumship as something that's someone who's locked away in a dark room.
My name is John Turnock, and I am married to Ankhasha Amenti. We've been married for a little over 25 years. You know, before we met years ago, I was very, very skeptical. And what's really interesting is I met a woman. When I say I met a woman, I had one of my best friends, his mother, and I didn't know this growing up, but she was psychic. And she told me, interestingly enough, many, many years ago, she said, "You're going to meet, John, you're going to meet a woman, and she's going to have a little girl, and that's the person that you're going to partner with. It's going to be your life partner." Lo and behold, it was probably 4 or 5 years after that's when I met Ankhasha, and it was a package deal, and we had our daughter, you know, we've been together ever since. And when Ankhasha shared with me some of the gifts that she has, she asked me quite honestly, she said, "How would you feel if I did this, I'll say professionally?" She said, "But if I started actively working with people?" And I really supported it because I thought that, you know, if she could bring some sense of, not necessarily closure, but if she could bring some sense of the full circle to people, that's something that would be really, really valuable. It's really been a blessing to see the reaction she gets from people that she works with, and that type of feedback when she connects people with people that have departed. I myself have seen her just do some amazing work, just amazing work.
I live in this world. I work many times stepping my feet into the other world, but I'm in a physical body here. So I'm having this experience here. They are not having this experience anymore. They are freed from that, from the limitations of a physical body, and they're having a different experience. So whether their experience is one of coming back at a certain point, or their experience is one of reevaluating their life and making some amends, asking for forgiveness, whether their experience is one of they've had a blissful life here and they're now moving on to even more blissful life on the other side, it's their progression. It's their responsibility, just as it is our responsibility here to grow and to learn and to be the best kind of people we can be. I got involved with working with hospice too because I found how important their work was in comforting the dying and helping them in helping the living with the dying. I've always faced my own mortality straight on and not really had a fear of it because I saw so much death around me and I was more comfortable with the death and with the dying process. This year, my daughter passed, my only daughter, at age 34. And she was an amazing person, and she passed very unexpectedly. And I found it was difficult in my grieving process because people were either afraid to speak to me or people were unsure of what to say because I work with death all the time. And I knew for the past year that death was stalking me. I told a few of my close friends and family that I knew death was here waiting for me, but I believed it was my own death. And I was preparing for it, not in a morbid way, but in a very peaceful way. I felt it was coming in some form or fashion. I had no idea it was coming for my daughter in such an unexpected way. The death of my daughter transformed my work in a more meaningful way than I would ever have had the opportunity to any other way. So that the deepest pain that you could ever feel losing your child, that deep, deep pain, is helping me know how to reach out in compassion. When parents come and sit in front of me, I would always think how difficult that must be to have lost your only child or to have lost any child. And just a few days before my daughter Amber passed, I met with a parent and delivered messages of comfort to them. And when I left that, I walked into my husband and I said, it's the most difficult thing I have to do is to just be present and fully present because it's such a great responsibility to be able to bring those messages from that child to that parent. And it's so hard because you want to make certain that everything you say is helpful to that parent. And then a few days later, my daughter passed. And so now the connection that I have with her is not gone. The love that I have had for her and continue to have for her is still there. But it has changed. And I know the pain, and I can say I sit with that pain, and it will be there the rest of my life. In our community, we don't know how to reach out and treat people as human beings either. And we need to be able to do that.